The millionaire forced a waitress into marriage for revenge, but her kindness made him fall first. Hello everyone. Please subscribe and turn on the bell to support our channel. It's free and helps us a lot. Where are you watching from? Tell us below. Now, let's get back to our story. The rain hammered against the tall windows of a Manhattan penthouse as lightning flashed over the skyline. Ethan Cole stood alone, the blue glow of his phone reflecting in his cold gray eyes. Headlines screamed his humiliation. His ex-fiancée, Harper Grant, was marrying his business rival next month. The woman who'd once called him heartless now smiled from the cover of a magazine, her hand resting on another man's chest. Ethan's jaw clenched. "She used me for power," he muttered, tossing the phone onto the marble counter. "Let's see how she likes being on the other side." That night, he scrolled through old security footage from a hotel he owned in upstate New York. And there she was, the small-town waitress from the diner who'd once defended him when she thought he was just a rude customer. Lily Hart. Warm eyes, quick smile, honest to a fault. The kind of woman Harper would look down on. Perfect. The next afternoon, the diner smelled of coffee and rain. Lily was counting crumpled tips behind the counter, exhaustion written in the curve of her shoulders. Her landlord's notice was folded in her apron pocket: 3 days to pay or move out. The doorbell chimed, and the world seemed to slow. A tall man in a dark suit walked in, rainwater glistening on his shoulders. The kind of man who didn't belong in a place that sold $3 pancakes. She blinked. "Can I help you, sir?" He didn't sit. "You once told me kindness doesn't cost anything. I'd like to test that theory." She frowned, recognizing him only vaguely. "Wait, you're that guy from last month, the one who tipped $100 for a cup of coffee." "Ethan Cole," he said evenly. "I have a proposition." Her stomach tightened. "What kind of proposition?" "Marriage," he replied without flinching. The tray in her hand nearly slipped. "Excuse me?" "I need a wife. Temporarily. In return, all your debt's gone." Lily laughed nervously, glancing toward the door as if someone might be filming her. "This is some kind of joke, right?" "I don't joke about contracts," he said, sliding a crisp folder across the counter. Inside was a document embossed with a gold seal: Carter and Miles Legal Group. 6 months, public appearances, no intimacy. You'll be paid handsomely and free by December. Her pulse quickened. "Why me?" "Because you're real," he said, almost under his breath. "And because I need someone who doesn't play games." She shook her head. "You don't even know me." "I know enough," he said softly. "You stood up for a stranger. That's rare." For a long moment, only the hum of the neon sign filled the space between them. Lily's thoughts raced: her mom's medical bills, the overdue rent, the way hope kept slipping through her fingers. "You said no intimacy?" she asked quietly. "None," Ethan confirmed. "Strictly business." She exhaled, the sound trembling in the quiet. "And what happens after 6 months? You walk away richer, I walk away free." She stared at his hand as he offered the pen. Her reflection shimmered in the chrome of the counter-tired eyes, trembling fingers, a heart that still believed in decency. Slowly, she reached for the pen, her voice barely a whisper. "I must be out of my mind." Ethan's gaze didn't waver. "Welcome to the deal, Mrs. Cole." Outside, thunder rolled across the sky as the ink met the paper, sealing not just a contract but the beginning of something neither of them saw coming. The rain had stopped by morning, but the clouds still hung low over the city, heavy and gray. Lily stood in front of the mirror in a borrowed dress, staring at her reflection as if it belonged to someone else. Her hands trembled slightly as she fastened the thin silver bracelet Ethan's assistant had laid out. It was simple, elegant, far beyond anything she'd ever owned. Claire, Ethan's assistant, appeared in the doorway holding a folder. "Mrs. Cole," she said gently, testing the title. Lily flinched at the sound. "I am not used to being called that," she murmured. "You will get used to it," Claire replied kindly. "Ethan likes things done properly." She handed over the folder. "These are the official documents: the marriage certificate, financial transfers, and schedule for your public appearances. You will be living at the Cole estate effective today." Lily swallowed hard. "Does he always make things sound like a corporate merger?" Claire smiled faintly. "Always." By noon, a black limousine pulled up to the courthouse. The ceremony was brief, witnessed only by Ethan's lawyer and a notary. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Lily could barely lift her eyes. Ethan's voice was calm, cold, professional, like he was signing another business deal. "Congratulations," he said quietly. "You are officially Mrs. Cole." She managed a nod, unsure whether to thank him or cry. Outside, the air smelled of wet pavement. A line of photographers stood at a distance, tipped off by someone. Ethan's expression hardened. "Just smile," he whispered through his teeth, wrapping an arm around her waist for the first time. His touch was firm, controlled, nothing romantic, yet her pulse stumbled. Flash after flash lit up the street. "How does it feel to marry a billionaire, Miss Hart?" one reporter shouted. Lily froze, unsure what to say, until Ethan leaned close, his breath steady against her ear. "Answer them." She forced a shaky smile. "I feel grateful," she said softly. "He is a good man." Ethan's jaw tightened, but his hand did not move away. When they finally slipped into the car, the tinted glass separating them from the chaos outside, silence filled the space like thick smoke. Lily clutched her bouquet, the petals trembling in her hands. "You did well," Ethan said at last. "The world believes us now." "And what about you?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. "Do you believe any of this?" He turned his gaze to the skyline, his tone unreadable. "Belief is overrated. Contracts are what hold people together." She looked down at her lap, feeling the sting of his words. "You really do not trust anyone, do you?" "Trust is expensive," he said simply. The limousine rolled through the iron gates of Cole Estate, a sprawling mansion with marble steps and ivy climbing the walls. Lily had seen pictures of homes like this, but never from the inside. The air smelled of roses and wealth, so clean it felt alien. Claire appeared again at the door, smiling politely. "Welcome home, Mrs. Cole." Ethan walked ahead without looking back, his footsteps echoing on the marble floor. Lily followed slowly, her heels clicking softly, the sound of a woman who had just sold 6 months of her life. As she entered the grand hallway, she caught her reflection in the gold-framed mirror, same girl, same tired eyes, but with a ring on her finger that gleamed like a secret. Somewhere deep inside, a small voice whispered that she had made a mistake. But another part of her, the part that still believed in second chances, whispered something else. Maybe, just maybe, this deal would change more than her bank account. The first week in the Cole estate felt like stepping into another universe. Every room glowed with chandeliers and quiet luxury, but to Lily, it all felt colder than the rain that had followed her to this new life. Claire guided her through the marble halls, explaining rules in a calm voice. "Breakfast is at 7. Ethan's schedule is strict. You will attend 2 public events this week, a dinner with investors and a charity gala. Your wardrobe is being prepared by the stylist. Mr. Cole prefers order, not surprises." Lily nodded, trying to memorize every instruction. Her world had once revolved around the clatter of plates and the smell of coffee. Now it was crystal glasses, silver trays, and people who looked through her instead of at her. On the 3rd morning, she woke early and found Ethan in the study. He was standing by the window, wearing a crisp white shirt, reading something on his tablet. The sunlight caught his jawline, sharp as the man himself. "Good morning," she said softly. He looked up, briefly surprised. "You are awake early." "Habit," she replied. At the diner, shifts started at 5. He nodded, almost approving. "Discipline, that is good." She hesitated. "Ethan, about the events this week, what am I supposed to say if people ask how we met?" He didn't look away from his screen. "The truth, but the version that sounds good. We met at my hotel. You were kind to me. I admired that." She frowned slightly. "You make it sound like an audition." His mouth curved into a faint, humorless smile. "In a way it is." That night, she sat in her new bedroom larger than her entire old apartment, and wrote in a small notebook she had brought from home, *Day 4, married, technically. No warmth, no smiles, but also no shouting. Maybe silence is safer. Downstairs, Ethan poured himself a glass of scotch, staring at the faint light under her door. Something about her unsettled him. She did not beg, did not flatter, did not seem impressed by anything he owned. For a man used to control, that made her unpredictable. The next day, the stylist arrived with boxes of dresses. Silk, velvet, colors that shimmered like water. Lily tried them on under the woman's sharp gaze. "Smile," the stylist said. "You are Mrs. Cole now." Lily forced a small one, catching her reflection. The same eyes, the same heart, wrapped in a stranger's life. When the night of the investor dinner came, she stood beside Ethan in a long navy gown. The cameras flashed again, the crowd whispering as they entered. Ethan kept his hand at her back, firm and guiding, every move choreographed. To the outside world they looked perfect. But as the evening went on, Lily began to notice things: the way his jaw tensed when someone mentioned Harper's name, the way he never looked directly at her when he smiled for photos. This marriage was a shield, a performance born of pain. During dinner, she leaned close enough for only him to hear. "You do not have to pretend with me. I am not them." He looked at her for a long second, something flickering in his eyes before he looked away. "Pretending is the only thing keeping us both safe." When they returned home that night, Lily slipped off her heels and stood by the balcony doors, watching the city lights below. Ethan passed behind her, loosening his tie. "You handled yourself well tonight," he said quietly. "You are learning fast." She turned to him, her expression calm but tired. "Maybe I am just trying not to drown." His gaze softened for a moment, before he said, "Then stay close to the surface, Mrs. Cole. The deeper you go, the harder it is to breathe." He left her standing there with the night wind on her face, wondering which of them was really drowning first. By the second week, the mansion had started to feel less like a cage and more like a museum where Lily was the quiet exhibit no one understood. She followed her new routine with precision. Breakfast at 7, meetings at 9, smile for photos at noon, then disappear behind the polished doors until nightfall. Ethan remained the same, polite, distant, too busy to notice the silence growing between them. Yet every now and then, she caught him watching her when he thought she was not looking, as if he was studying something he could not name. Claire, always gentle, helped her prepare for the upcoming charity gala. "It will be your first big event," she said, adjusting the hem of Lily's gown. "Everyone who matters will be there, including Harper." Lily paused. "His ex-fiancée?" Claire nodded. "Try not to let her rattle you. She feeds on reaction." The night of the gala arrived, wrapped in glitter and tension. The ballroom glowed under chandeliers, cameras flashing like lightning with every step Ethan and Lily took. His hand rested lightly on her back as they entered, his posture perfect, his smile carefully practiced. Lily's heart pounded, but she kept her head high. Reporters shouted questions, guests whispered, and somewhere near the stage stood Harper, stunning in silver, her expression sharp enough to cut glass. "Ethan," Harper purred as they approached. "It has been too long." Her gaze slid to Lily, assessing, mocking. "And this must be your wife." The waitress, was it? A few gasps rippled through the crowd. Lily felt her cheeks burn, but before she could speak, Ethan's voice came low and steady. "Yes, Harper, my wife. And she is the reason I still believe in decency, something money cannot buy." The air shifted. Harper's smile faltered for a fraction of a second before she recovered, laughing lightly. "How poetic of you." Lily's heart raced, not from embarrassment, but from the strange flicker of pride in Ethan's defense. Through the rest of the night she moved with quiet grace, speaking gently to donors and greeting strangers who stared too long. At one point, a young server stumbled and nearly dropped a tray of champagne. Without hesitation, Lily steadied him, whispering, "It is okay, I used to do this job too." Her words carried farther than she thought. Several guests turned, murmuring, surprised. Later, as the event wound down, Ethan found her by the edge of the dance floor, watching couples sway to slow music. "You did well tonight," he said. "You turned pity into respect. That is rare." She smiled faintly. "I was not trying to impress them." "You did anyway," he replied. For a moment, the noise of the ballroom faded. They stood close, the distance between them shrinking with every heartbeat. Then Harper passed behind them, her perfume sharp and cold. "Enjoy your fairy tale while it lasts," she whispered to Lily before walking away. Lily's chest tightened, but she kept her composure. "She does not bother me," she said quietly once Harper was gone. "She does not have to," Ethan answered. "She already knows she lost." When they returned home, the silence of the mansion felt different, softer somehow. Ethan loosened his tie and poured 2 glasses of wine. "To surviving the wolves," he said, handing her one. She laughed lightly, taking it. "You have a strange way of giving compliments, and you have a strange way of earning them," he said, his voice lower now. For a moment, their eyes met across the golden light of the room. The fake marriage, the contracts, the lies, all of it felt thinner, less solid. Lily looked away first, her heart racing. "Good night, Mr. Cole." "Good night, Mrs. Cole," he replied, watching her leave. When the door closed, Ethan stood there alone, realizing for the first time that revenge had begun to lose its flavor, and her kindness, was slowly rewriting his reasons for everything. Days turned into weeks, and the walls of the Cole estate no longer felt as cold as they once had. The routine remained the same, but something invisible had shifted between Ethan and Lily. There were small moments now. The way he lingered at breakfast to ask how she slept, or how she brewed his coffee exactly the way he liked it without him ever telling her. It was not love, not yet, but it was no longer indifference either. One rainy morning, Lily found herself alone in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up as she tried to bake a pie from an old family recipe. Flour dusted her hair, and her laughter echoed softly when she dropped a spoon. Ethan appeared in the doorway, jacket still on, holding a file in his hand. For the first time, he looked amused. "I did not know billionaires' wives bake," he said. "I did not know billionaires eat pie," she answered without turning. He stepped closer, watching her work. "You should not do servants' work." "It is not work," she said quietly. "It reminds me who I am." He studied her face, the concentration, the softness he had not seen in years. "Then maybe I should learn from you," he said, surprising even himself. Later that day, they shared the pie at the long dining table, laughing when the crust burned slightly. It was an imperfect moment that felt real, and for a man who had lived on perfection, it was disarming. That night, Ethan sat in his study, staring at the framed newspaper clipping of Harper's engagement. The satisfaction he once felt had dulled to nothing. Across the hall, Lily played soft music from her phone, unaware he was listening. The melody reached him like a whisper, pulling something human back to the surface. A few days later, Claire brought in a stack of charity invitations. "The board wants Mrs. Cole to join the hospital fundraiser next weekend," she said. Ethan glanced up. "Make sure she has everything she needs. You seem to care about this one," Claire teased gently. Ethan's expression darkened, but not in anger. "She is different," he admitted quietly. "And that is exactly what makes her dangerous." When the fundraiser came, it was held at a children's hospital. Cameras followed their every move, but Lily was not acting. She knelt to speak with the kids, listened to parents, and stayed long after the event ended to help pack donated toys. The press caught it all. A billionaire's wife with dirt on her knees and kindness in her hands. Ethan watched from a distance, silent. For the first time, he felt proud of something that was not attached to profit or revenge. On the drive home, the city lights flickered through the tinted windows. Lily leaned her head against the seat, exhausted. "You did not have to stay that long," Ethan said softly. "Those people do not expect that from you." "Maybe not," she said, "but I did not marry your name to pretend. If I can do something good, I will." He turned to look at her, really look at her, and for a heartbeat the air between them felt charged with something neither could define. When they arrived at the mansion, he walked her to the door. She hesitated before stepping inside. "Ethan," she said, her voice quiet but certain, "whatever this arrangement was meant to be, You do not have to keep pretending either." He froze, caught off guard by the softness in her tone. "Maybe I am not pretending," he said before walking away. That night, Lily lay awake replaying those words, unsure if they terrified her or made her hope. And in the quiet of his study, Ethan stared out at the storm beyond the glass, realizing that the woman he had married for revenge was teaching him more about grace than anyone ever had. Autumn crept into the city slowly, painting the skyline in gold and rust. And for the first time since their strange marriage began, the Cole estate felt alive. Ethan and Lily had fallen into an easy rhythm, quiet breakfasts, shared walks through the garden, and conversations that slipped past the boundaries of their contract. There were still rules, still distance, but something fragile had begun to bloom between them. One evening the power went out during a storm, plunging the mansion into darkness. Lily lit a few candles in the dining room, their soft light flickering across the marble walls. Ethan entered, phone in hand, clearly frustrated. "The generator is down," he muttered. "Maintenance will fix it soon." "Maybe that is not such a bad thing," Lily said with a small smile. "You could use a break from your screens." He gave her a look that was half annoyance, half amusement. "You think I cannot survive without Wi-Fi? I think you have forgotten how to sit still," she teased. He sat across from her, the glow of the candle catching in his eyes. For a long moment they said nothing. Then Ethan surprised himself by asking, "Why nursing? You could have done anything." "Because my mother raised me alone," she said softly. "She used to say kindness can be medicine too." I wanted to prove her right. Her eyes shimmered in the low light, and Ethan felt something shift inside him. "You are doing more than proving it," he murmured. She smiled faintly. "What about you? Why business?" He leaned back, exhaling. "Because power meant control. And control meant I could never be hurt again." The honesty startled them both. The storm outside grew louder, rain drumming against the windows. Then, without thinking, Lily reached across the table, her hand brushing his. "You are allowed to let people in, Ethan," she said quietly. "Not everyone wants something from you." The touch was brief, but it burned through him like truth. He looked at her hand, then at her face, and for the first time his expression softened completely. "Maybe I am starting to believe that," he whispered. A crash of thunder broke the silence, and both laughed nervously. For a few seconds the mansion felt smaller, warmer, like a real home. Later, when the lights flickered back on, neither moved to blow out the candles. Days later, Ethan found himself distracted during a board meeting, his mind wandering back to her laughter. Even his assistant noticed. "You seem different lately," Claire said carefully. "Maybe that is not a bad thing." He glanced at her but did not reply. That evening he returned home earlier than usual and found Lily asleep on the couch, a book resting on her chest, the faintest smile on her lips. Something in him melted. He gently covered her with a blanket, his fingers brushing a strand of hair from her face. It was a simple act, but it felt like crossing an invisible line. Standing there, watching her breathe, Ethan realized the truth he had been avoiding. Somewhere between revenge and routine, he had fallen in love. But as peace settled into the mansion, shadows lingered beyond its walls. Harper had seen the news photos of Ethan and Lily at the hospital fundraiser, his hand resting on her waist, the way he looked at her. Jealousy twisted inside her. She picked up the phone, her voice smooth and cold. "Find out everything about Lily Hart?" she said. "And I mean everything." While the world thought the billionaire had finally found happiness, another storm was quietly building, one that would test whether this fragile love could survive the truth that started it all. The calm that had settled over the Cole estate did not last long. By the end of the month, a single news headline shattered it. Waitress turned millionaire's wife, hiding a secret past. The words were plastered across every tabloid, accompanied by old photos of Lily working double shifts, eviction notices, and hospital bills from her mother's surgery. Harper had done exactly what she promised. She had found everything. When Ethan saw the headline, his expression darkened, his old anger flooding back like an old wound reopening. He slammed the newspaper onto his desk, the words burning through him. When Lily entered the study later that morning, unaware, she froze at the sight of the papers scattered across the floor. "Ethan?" she said softly, her voice uncertain. He turned, his tone sharper than she had ever heard. "Tell me it is not true. Tell me you did not marry me for the money." Her breath caught. "What?" "The debts, the hospital bills, your eviction. Did you think I would not find out?" he demanded. "Or was this all part of your plan from the start?" Tears filled her eyes. "I never hid my struggles, Ethan. You knew I needed help. You were the one who offered this deal. You could have walked away," he said coldly. "You stayed because you saw an opportunity." Her voice broke. "I stayed because I thought you had a heart." Silence cut through the room like glass. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Ethan turned away, his voice low and bitter. This marriage was a mistake. Lily stood frozen, the walls of the mansion suddenly closing in on her. "Maybe it was," she whispered, "but it was not just a lie to me." She left before he could reply, the sound of the front door echoing through the marble hall like the end of something sacred. Outside, the autumn wind bit at her face as she walked down the long driveway. No car, no plan, just the desperate need to breathe. Back inside, Ethan paced the study, anger mixing with guilt. Claire appeared at the door, holding her tablet. "You should know, sir, Harper Grant is behind the leak." She sent the story to every outlet. Ethan froze. "Harper?" Claire nodded. "She wanted to ruin your image, and hers." The realization hit him hard. Everything Lily said had been true. He sank into the chair, the weight of his mistake pressing down on him. Meanwhile, Lily found herself back at the diner where it had all begun. The neon sign flickered above her, casting pink light over the empty tables. The owner, an older man who had known her for years, brought her a cup of coffee without asking. "Rough night?" he said kindly. She smiled weakly. "You could say that." He sat across from her, his voice gentle. "You know, Lily, some storms come to clear the sky, not destroy it." She blinked back tears, staring into the steam rising from her cup. "I wish I believed that." Back at the mansion, Ethan stood by the window, staring at the empty driveway. The anger that had once driven him felt hollow now. He remembered her words at the fundraiser, the way she had knelt to talk to the children, the way she had made his cold house feel like a home. He had driven her away just when she had started to trust him. For the first time, Ethan Cole, the man who once built empires out of pride, realized he had lost something priceless, and it was entirely his fault. He picked up his phone, hesitated, then put it down again. Words were not enough this time. He needed to show her the truth, but outside, the damage was already spreading faster than either of them knew, and the world that once admired their perfect story was now ready to tear it apart. 3 days passed before Ethan finally acted. The mansion was silent, every echo a reminder that Lily was gone. He could not focus on meetings or reports, not when every room carried her voice, her laughter, the warmth she had left behind. On the 4th morning, Claire placed a folder on his desk. "The press is moving on," she said quietly, "but Lily has not been seen since she left. I thought you should know." Ethan opened the folder. Inside were photos of Lily volunteering at a community shelter downtown, her hair pulled back, her smile faint but real. Something in him broke open. "Prepare a statement," he said, standing abruptly, "but not the usual kind. I am done pretending." That afternoon, the Carter Foundation announced a new initiative, the Lily Heart Fund, a program designed to help struggling women rebuild their lives through education and housing. Ethan refused interviews, but his name was everywhere again, this time attached to something that mattered. He knew the world would think it was a publicity stunt, but he did not care. It was his way of apologizing, of showing her he finally understood. 2 nights later, the foundation held its first charity gala. The ballroom buzzed with cameras and whispers. Ethan stood on stage in a black suit, the microphone steady in his hand. "A few months ago," he began, his voice calm but full of weight, "I married someone who reminded me what it means to be human. I failed her. But she showed me that wealth means nothing without compassion. Tonight we honor that lesson." The crowd listened, spellbound. Then he looked directly at the camera. Lily, if you are watching this, I owe you more than an apology. I owe you my truth." The applause that followed felt distant, meaningless. When the event ended, Ethan slipped out the back door, walking through the quiet streets of the city. He found himself outside the diner again, the same one where it had all started. Through the window, he saw her wiping down tables, her movements slow, tired. He stepped inside, and the bell above the door chimed softly. She froze when she saw him. "Ethan," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Why are you here?" He removed his coat, rainwater dripping onto the floor. "To tell you I was wrong," he said simply. "You were never the problem. I was. I let pride speak louder than truth." She shook her head, tears welling. "You have no idea what that story did to me. People point, whisper, laugh. They think I was just some gold digger." "Then let them," he said gently, "because I know who you are, and so do you. That is all that matters now." He took a small envelope from his pocket and placed it on the counter. Inside was a newspaper clipping the announcement of the Lily Heart Fund with her name in bold letters. "This is yours," he said. "You inspired it." She stared at the paper, unable to speak. "Why would you do this?" "Because I finally learned what love actually means," he said softly. "It is not about control, or revenge, or contracts. It is about giving without expecting anything back." For a moment, neither moved. Then she exhaled shakily, the anger in her chest softening into something else. "You cannot fix everything with money, Ethan," she said. "I know," he replied. "That is why I am not asking for forgiveness. I am asking for a chance to be better." The clock above the counter ticked loudly, the only sound between them. Finally, Lily whispered, "You are late for most things, Mr. Cole, but maybe not for this." He smiled faintly, the kind of smile that carried both pain and peace. For the first time, he did not feel like a man who had everything. He felt like a man who was finally ready to earn it. Spring returned to New York like a promise kept. The city's skyline shimmered brighter, and so did the quiet diner where it had all begun. 2 months had passed since Ethan's public apology, and though the world had moved on, he had not stopped coming by every Sunday morning, always ordering the same thing, black coffee and whatever pie Lily happened to make that day. Sometimes she joined him, sometimes she did not, but every week he showed up, patient, steady, unguarded. One morning she finally sat across from him, wiping her hands on her apron. "You do not give up easily, do you?" she asked with a teasing smile. "Not when something is worth the fight," he said softly. "I spent years chasing power, but the only thing that ever made me feel alive was your kindness." Her eyes shimmered, the hurt in them melting into something warmer. "You really have changed," she said. "No," he replied, "you changed me." He took a small velvet box from his pocket and opened it slowly. Inside was a simple silver ring, elegant and unpretentious, just like her. "The first contract we signed was about survival," he said quietly. "This one is about truth. No terms, no deadlines, just a promise. Will you marry me again, this time for real?" Lily stared at the ring, then at the man who had once been nothing but ice and anger. There was no audience, no camera, no headline this time, just the two of them, the smell of coffee and the hum of the morning crowd. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "Yes, but only if you promise not to make me stop baking." He laughed, the sound genuine, free of bitterness. "Deal," he said. When he slipped the ring onto her finger, applause broke out from the regulars at the diner who had been pretending not to watch. Someone shouted, "About time," and everyone laughed. Later that evening, Ethan took her to the community shelter her name now funded. A new sign hung at the entrance, the Lily Heart Center for Hope. "You built this," he said. "We built this," she corrected gently. They walked hand in hand through the halls as volunteers greeted them, children running by with balloons. For the first time, Ethan felt like he belonged somewhere that had nothing to do with business or revenge. At sunset, they stood on the rooftop of the center, watching the city glow below. Lily leaned her head on his shoulder and whispered, "It feels different this time." "It is," he said, "because this time it is real." The wind carried the sound of laughter from the streets below, soft and distant, like a blessing. Ethan wrapped an arm around her, holding her close, not as part of a contract, but as the choice of a man who had finally learned that love was never about power, it was about grace. Somewhere deep inside, he knew that this was the ending he had been running from and the beginning he never thought he deserved. And for the first time, he did not want to run anymore. If this story touched you even just a little, hit like so the algorithm knows we still believe in kindness. Tap subscribe and the notification bell so you won't miss the next journey. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What moment of giving once changed you? Share it in the comments below. Your story might become the inspiration for the next video. And if you think someone needs to hear this story, please share it with them. Thank you for spending your time here. See you again in the next story.